Internet Use Violations, Threats Over the World Wide Web, a case study by Wendy Delson. Problem Identification and Analysis. What do I know? The school district serves an affluent community that is part of a large city. The section has always been financially stable. Parents are professionals and their children have nice clothes and the latest technology. Roosevelt High School is the most prestigious in the state. Dr. Stephen Forbes has been principal for 9 years and is well respected by parents. The school prides itself on hiring only the most highly qualified teachers. Ms. Walker is the second-year science teacher. She maintains a high level of rigor in her classes, and this is causing a lot of stress and anxiety among her students. Parents have expressed concerns to Principal Forbes about their children receiving a low grade. While he suggested various ways for Ms. Walker to help her address this situation, the problem seems to be continuing. Parent and students' complaints continue. What do I know? An anonymous website was made containing vulgar curse words, suggestive attacks on Ms. Walker's personal activities, criticism of her as a teacher, and a potentially dangerous inference to do her harm. Ms. Walker believes that a student named Randy might be to blame for this. He has been critical of her in her class and has the technological know-how to have done this. What do I need to know? There was a website created that contained highly suggestive comments about Ms. Walker's personal life. Was this website created by more than one student or just one student? Could a parent have been involved? How many people know about this website? Is it common knowledge around the school? Ms. Walker wanted to involve law enforcement. Is that advisable? Have any laws been broken? I understand that Ms. Walker's class has much rigor and that students are not doing well in class. Is there an inappropriate amount of rigor in the class? Has anything happened recently that has changed the dynamic of the class? Principal Forbes wants to speak with other students about the website. Do any of the other students know anything more about it? Will they be willing to speak about it? What is the school policy on internet use? Is there even such a policy about it? Was the school computer used for this? Do students have to sign an internet acceptable use policy? What is the problem? A student's or parents created a website that defames and possibly threatens a relatively new teacher, Ms. Walker. Since the website was created anonymously, Principal Forbes has to find out who created the website. The principal has to be careful not to violate the First Amendment rights of the students or whoever created the website. Recent case law has upheld the rights of students to free speech on the internet. The principal has to protect the reputation of his faculty. He has to promote adult student and school community relationships that will maintain a positive school climate. The principal has to make sure that the rigor in the class, the amount of work assigned, or the grading rubric promotes students' academic success and well-being. The principal needs to help Ms. Walker be more sensitive to her students. Discover the facts, a proposed plan of action. Principal Forbes should interview Ms. Walker's students to discover who wrote the email and created the website. Forbes should determine what caused the email to be written and the website created. Were there any recent incidents in class that may have sparked the situation? What must he do to resolve the issue? The administrators must review Internet Acceptable Use policy to determine if the policy was violated, and they must discuss with district administrators and the Chief Information Officer. Support your faculty. Forbes should acknowledge that a member of his staff, Ms. Walker, was traumatized the previous evening and make her aware that he is taking steps to get to the bottom of the situation and will provide her with needed support. Forbes should arrange for a counselor that Ms. Walker can speak with about the situation. Perhaps she will be comfortable with a school psychologist, otherwise an outside therapist should be available. The principal should do whatever is necessary to shut down the website. Re-examine school policy. Inform school and district officials and determine how the school vision and policy must be changed to provide a caring, supportive environment for all students and teachers. Revisit the school internet use policy to ensure that this type of incident is less likely to happen again. Determine what, if any, disciplinary action is appropriate. Emmett versus Kent School District in 2000 reversed a student's suspension after it was determined that his First Amendment rights were violated. Make sure that all students know that this will not be tolerated at Roosevelt High. Roosevelt High administrators must re-examine their communication policy to involve the entire school community, parents, educators, students, and administrators. What are the available options? Principal Forbes needs to start looking at the school climate. How is the school treating its students, our teachers? Is there too much pressure being put on them in Ms. Walker's class? Is too much pressure being put on Ms. Walker? Revisit teacher supports so that Ms. Walker can learn strategies to work successfully with her students. Involve students in the decision-making process to create solutions to resolve students' issues. Work with student government to create a bridge to the student body. Follow-up. Implement professional development programs and support for teachers. Negative feelings and frustrations should be dealt with before they reach critical mass and students create websites. Create materials that students can easily reference regarding the appropriate use of digital tools and social media so that students know what is acceptable and what is not. Meet with parents and school faculty, such as social workers, psychologists, and IT staff, to discuss how to monitor student internet use at home. Explain to parents what is acceptable internet use and what is not. Teach parents about warning signs of internet abuse. Share with parents the importance of working together so that the community as a whole can create a safe environment for students to use the internet. Strategies for investigation, appropriate strategies for implementation. Create an atmosphere where students feel as if they can speak without any fear of punishment. In order to ensure the privacy of those involved, an environment of respect and trust needs to be in place. Adult-student, student-to-student, and school community relations need to be strengthened so that Forbes can involve parents and students to help create the inclusive, caring, and supportive environment that his students and faculty need. Principal Forbes should not treat this incident with any less seriousness than it deserves. Strategies to remove the web page. According to what I've read about the First Amendment rights of students in Killian versus Franklin School District, Emmett versus Kent School District, and Busing versus the Woodland School District, there are different strategies to follow if the page was created at home or in school. If this page was created at home, meet with parents and the students and discuss what we can do to remove the web page and to determine an appropriate consequence. If the page was posted at school, then the student will have violated the internet policy that is in place, in which case disciplinary action must be taken. The most important strategy is to make sure that the web page is removed as quickly as possible. Strategies for parents and students. Principal Forbes should contact parents and meet with students to reinforce the mission of the school to create a caring and supportive environment so that all students can reach their academic potential in a healthy and caring school. Principal Forbes should be supportive of his faculty when having any discussions with either students or parents. Principal Forbes, while not downplaying the situation, should be prepared for any media focus on the incident. While the incident should in no way be minimized, he should try and deal with it quietly and efficiently, trying not to escalate the situation. Parents need to be made aware that Roosevelt High wants only the best for their children, and that these incidents are taken seriously no matter who is the victim. Strategies for disciplinary action. Principal Forbes must be certain that he knows the exact wording of the school policy and the law. He should treat each action that he takes as if it would be challenged in a court of law. Principal Forbes should treat the situation as a teachable moment. The disciplinary action that is to be taken must fit the situation, it must be reasonable, and it must be aligned with school policy. The principal should find any precedent that may help him to decide appropriate discipline, as well as consult with other district administrators. He should also do research and determine if there is any applicable case law appropriate to the situation. Resolution based on promoting what is best for every student. Principal Forbes should not just punish the students who were guilty of creating a website that was hurtful to one of his teachers for the sake of punishment. He can use it as a jumping-off point to teach a lesson in tolerance and respect, conflict resolution, honesty and transparency, and many other lessons. New teachers often need many supports. Ms. Walker was having difficulties with teaching her students. Dr. Forbes should provide Ms. Walker with support and professional development so that she can help her students achieve academic success in a supportive environment. Principal Forbes needs to be more responsive to his teachers when there are obvious signs of problems in the class. Although he is a highly regarded educator, it seems as if he wasn't supportive of Ms. Walker. Principal Forbes needs to support his students. He is proud of the highly regarded reputation of the school and doesn't realize that it is at the expense of the students' well-being. Students need to be aware that working hard and struggling are two of the ways that we become successful, as well as the growth that one makes. Principal Forbes was not attentive to the immediate needs of Ms. Walker when she first contacted him. He should have had a social worker or other therapist contact her. While it's important for students to learn a lesson from the incident, it's also important that there be disciplinary policies in place, as well as that both students and parents are aware of. As much as we'd like to think that talking to a child or young adult will result in a different behavior, unfortunately that's not usually the case. My own children went to a school very much like Roosevelt High, so I unfortunately have seen both the good and the bad of a school like this. Forbes was more interested in the reputation of his school and that he was highly regarded. Somewhere along the way he lost sight of his primary responsibility, his students. Forbes needs to step back and reassess the school climate. Forbes needs to do more to help both the faculty and the students. With proper training in PD, students will respond better to Ms. Walker and have more success in her class. Debriefing the problem, what I was thinking. There were so many variables in this case, it was difficult to proceed in an orderly fashion. It's difficult to create a resolution for a case where there's still so much that is unresolved. It's very difficult to monitor what students are doing outside of school. Is it really appropriate to do so? I did some research on First Amendment rights, and I realized that although I might have initially thought that students had broken the law, most likely the courts would have sided with them. Sometimes your first thought is not always right. It's always important to check the facts. What I was feeling. I was feeling upset for Miss Walker. I'm sure we've all been in the position of frustration where it seems that no matter what we do, we can't seem to make any progress. I kept wanting to say to her, ask for help. Students can say and do hurtful things to teachers, and I felt upset for Miss Walker. I felt frustration at Dr. Forbes for how he treated Miss Walker when she was obviously in distress. As an education leader, it's his responsibility to make sure that everyone in the school feels safe. What I was valuing. I value the sense of a nurturing community that I feel when I come to school every morning. I realized that the same feeling was absent at Roosevelt High. I value my privacy and how Miss Walker must have felt about the invasion of hers. I value that my students have a sense of accomplishment and pride when they are in my class, unlike Miss Walker's students. Unresolved issues. How can Miss Walker's classroom teaching style be changed so that her students have rigor in their class yet don't feel so much stress? The internet is new territory for our rules and regulations. Social media is uncharted waters as far as the law goes, and our laws don't reflect the new age of social media. What rights do schools have when something happens outside of school or involving a student? Cyber law is so big right now, school administrators have concerns about how to handle these types of situations. Reflection Component 1. I demonstrate ethical behavior and promote the academic success of all students by leading the way to create a cohesive, coherent internet use policy for Roosevelt High involving parents and students. Addressing the problems in Miss Walker's classroom, observing her class, as well as providing Miss Walker with a mentor and professional development, giving students a platform to address their concerns about their learning. Component 2. I adhere to ethical principles and professional norms by acknowledging that Miss Walker was uncomfortable after initially viewing the website. I immediately addressed her issues the next morning as well. Treating people fairly with dignity when I didn't immediately accuse Randy of creating the website. I did a fair and thorough investigation to find out who was behind the harassment of Miss Walker. Understanding the severity and also my disapproval of the actions of the students and their parents involved, and what is common decency and respect for both students and teachers. Component 3. I demonstrate a personal and professional code of ethics by teaching students that getting good grades at the expense of emotional well-being will allow them to see that what you learn and the progress that you make is more important than always coming out on top. Working with students rather than just handing out a punishment for creation of the website, I am teaching them about tolerance and respect, conflict resolution, honesty, and transparency. By providing Ms. Walker with constructive feedback and putting a professional development program in place for her so that her students will succeed, I am demonstrating a personal and professional code of ethics.